GoPro Hero 10 has been an amazing camera for me. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like GoPro really focused on making a camera that takes a better image or can create a better image. I've been using GoPro since probably the second generation, the Hero 2, and I've had other GoPros like the Hero 4 and Hero 5. For quite some time, I feel like GoPro has focused on the functionality, ease of use, and really just the convenience of the camera, which makes sense because that's really what a GoPro is. It's an action camera. It's supposed to be able to go anywhere with you, and they've done a really great job with things such as the stabilization and just the ease of use overall with the touchscreen. But I feel like it's been a while since they made a GoPro where they focused on picture quality and just having a really good image. And for me as a cinematographer, that tends to be the most important thing, is image quality. And that's why I was really stoked with the Hero 10. I felt like it took a really good image, it had really great image quality, and if there was anything they could improve on that would convince me to buy a new GoPro, it would just be making the image quality even better. I really like the stabilization in it. I think it's great, but for me, I typically use the GoPro for FPV, so I'm always using real steady anyways. The stabilization's, you know, it's great to have internal stabilization. We do use the GoPro as like a behind the scenes camera now, so it's been, you know, it's a great feature to have, but it's not a priority for us. So when I heard about the Hero 11, I was really excited and hoped that some of the updates would pertain to image quality, and I was excited to find out they do. I feel like some of the only things that did get updated are image quality, but for me, that's enough. I didn't look too far into the specs. Like I said, I think the Hero 10 already has great stabilization. It's very versatile. It's a convenient camera to use. I love all of the recording options and frame rates. But when I heard that the new GoPro 11 was going to have 10-bit, that was enough for me. I was sold. I also read that it's going to have a slightly larger sensor, which is another thing that will help improve the image quality. So for me, great. That's all I really needed to know for me to be convinced to buy the new GoPro. There are some other things that I know people see as flaws in GoPros, but for me, it's a GoPro. It's only going to do so much. I have so many other cameras. I don't really expect it to be a great vlogging camera or have great audio. It's just, yeah, all it needs to do for me is go on the drone and get me great footage while I'm flying, as well as maybe just have as a nice behind the scenes camera, which again, they've done such a good job with the previous generations of GoPro, improving the stabilization and things like that make it easy to use, and it's just another camera that I can pick up, not have to worry about, and get some great behind the scenes footage. And again, it's super convenient. You can put it anywhere, you can clamp it onto anywhere, and they've done a great job improving that. But for me, having better image quality is the one thing that's going to really sell it for me and make it worth it to me to get a new GoPro. And so here we are. I just went to my least favorite store, but the only store around where you can get GoPros on demand, and I don't like to really order things online that often, so I went and picked it up, and I'm going to test it out. I'm mostly going to test out things that pertain to image quality, having a larger sensor, the 10-bit, using it for FPV because that's what I use it for. But I will try a little bit. I'm going to go to the skate park and just test out the stabilization a little bit, see if it's any better. Not that it really needs to be for me, but yeah, I'll test out the stabilization and some of the frame rates and recording options. So I guess that skate park I was going to go to is actually no longer there. It got torn down and turned into a playground, which I was pretty bummed about, but I drove back to the city to see if there's anywhere I could skate downtown. And for some reason, I thought to check the fountain, which is one of my favorite skate spots, but it's only able to be skated like 2 weeks of the year because it's a fountain. So only when it's drained in the spring and in the fall. And looks like it's drained, so I'm gonna go check it out. So I went and skated, got some cool test footage. I used like the chest mount, and then also just got some handheld footage, nothing crazy. I just wanted to test out the highest frame rate option, and then also the ones I felt like I would use the most, which are the 5.3K 60 10-bit and 4K 60 10-bit. But when I went to fly my drone, I went to put it in 4x3, and I realized that the 10-bit options grayed out in any of the 4x3 options, either 4K 60, 5.3K 30, 5.3K 24, even 4K 24 you can't do 10-bit. And so I was immediately like, well, damn, I'm gonna have to return this thing, because that's the whole reason I bought this. And then I remembered about the 8x7 aspect ratio, but I thought that was more so for if you want to like crop vertical and horizontal with the same clip. But I watched a video on YouTube, and I guess that they came out with a new version of Real Steady, which allows you to use the 8x7 footage to get 16:9 or 9:16, as well as some other aspect ratios. So that's the trick there. So I filmed all that in 8x7, and I'm really glad I decided to make this little test video, because I definitely made some mistakes, because I thought I'd be able to just like copy all my Hero 10 settings right into the Hero 11, like just from my brain. But apparently not. There's some differences. 8x7 option is going to be, I guess, my go-to option for anything dealing with drone, because then I can use Real Steady, shoots in 10-bit. So yeah, super cool, and I'm excited for it. Definitely made some mistakes when it came to camera settings. I think I had the shutter angle messed up on one of these shots, and then also I think when I was flipping through modes, I forgot to reset the ISO max. So one of those clips, I think the ISO max was at like 400, so the exposure was probably fluctuating while I was flying around, which isn't good. But yeah, I really want to get that drone shot at the building downtown for a while. I feel like I kind of got a good run. I watched it back. I can't wait to see it stabilized, and then I'll really be able to check it out. But it was tough because I was all alone, so I didn't want to be like standing in the middle of the city by myself with goggles on, you know, not smart. But yeah, super excited to get back to the office and check this footage out. I'll probably shoot some more test footage tomorrow. Or actually tonight I'm gonna shoot some more test footage to test out the low light. Because that is probably one of the other things that, if there were any improvements, I'd imagine having a new sensor, you'd get better low light performance, which is, you know, it comes in handy, cleaner image. But nothing crazy. So far, really liking the new GoPro. I'm excited to see what else it has to offer. Is there no way out? Got bamboozled.
Oh my god.
You got the new GoPro?
That's the 11?
Yeah.
When did you get that?
Yesterday.
I was wondering why you were filming me.
Yeah. Now that I've had the opportunity to use the GoPro Hero 11 and review some of the footage, was it worth the upgrade? As I've mentioned throughout this video, my main concern with any camera I buy, especially GoPros, is the image quality. But for a camera like this, there are other things you have to take into consideration. A while ago, I bought this Sony RX02 thinking that it could replace my GoPro and have way better image quality given that it has a 1-inch sensor. There are certain things you have to take into account when purchasing action cameras other than image quality, things that made this camera very limiting, like the lack of in-body image stabilization. With the GoPro Hero 11 and even with the 10, I can say that GoPro has made a camera that I enjoy using, and it's not a camera that I use when it's my only option or a last resort. These are cameras that I actually enjoy using, and now with the Hero 11, enjoy the picture quality and actually really like the image I get out of it, and find that I use this camera for other things and not just when it's my only option. In terms of the improvements that they've made with the Hero 11, I do see a big improvement with obviously the introduction of the 10-bit color. That is something that many people have wanted for a long time, and it definitely pays off. It is a big improvement and gives you a lot of flexibility in post when it comes to color grading. Another thing I have noticed about shooting 10-bit is that you tend to get a little bit more leeway when it comes to exposure latitude. Oftentimes, especially with GoPro footage, you'll notice that the highlights clip very quickly, and having the ability to shoot 10-bit allows you a little bit more flexibility to bring the highlights back in post, something that I am very grateful for. That also pertains to the camera having a slightly larger sensor.
The larger the sensor, the more dynamic range the camera is going to have. Something that I really need, again, when shooting, especially FPV, because you're flying around and you can't always see what the GoPro is capturing. You need to be able to trust that all of that information is being captured and you're not losing detail in the highlights or shadows. One thing that I really wish GoPro would do on any of their new cameras is introduce some sort of log format. Even their flat picture profile is very contrasty and saturated. I find myself having to dial it all the way back and dialing all the sharpness all the way down. And I still get a really punchy and contrasty image where with a log image, you'd be able to preserve a lot more information in the highlights and shadows and choose where you're going to lose information in post or, scale information back. All in all, I'm super impressed with the new GoPro Hero 11 and what they've done with it. I heard they're coming out with a smaller version as well, which is very exciting for the FPV community. But in terms of any cons, obviously it's a GoPro, so there's still plenty of cons, but the biggest ones I've heard of are the battery life and overheating issues with a smaller camera. Shooting such high resolution in 10-bit can introduce issues like that. I haven't noticed anything yet. I've only had the camera for a couple weeks now, and I haven't really put it through the paces like that. It's been really cold out also, so I haven't noticed any issues with battery life at all. And I also haven't noticed any issues with overheating, but I don't really use GoPros like that in terms of having a long take. The longest I ever record is like 5 minutes for a flight. I have noticed some issues with the Hero 10 in the past where it can either freeze up or power off randomly. So that's something that I'm hoping they will address with the Hero 11. But other than that, it's not my main camera, so it doesn't have to be as reliable for me, but I know that is a big concern for a lot of people. So to conclude, I am very pleased with the results I got from the Hero 11. I'm excited that GoPro's continued down this path of creating cameras with better image quality and not just cameras that are designed to be used in action sports. If you have any specific questions about either of these cameras or maybe just something you would like to share, please feel free to leave us a comment below. And thanks for watching another video from Hill and Valley. We'll catch you next time.